Hello there. Hello there. My name is Skullk, and today I'm going to show you how to make this epic bass. From the drop, by the way. Yeah, it's very actually, it's kind of, what do you call it? Drum and bassy? Very drum and bassy. D&B. Very cool. And what's actually happening here is I actually have this one parameter, and as you can see, it's from a parametric EQ. And it's very interesting what's going on here because it's actually quite simple if you're very familiar with FL Studio. I don't know if I could explain it in a better way than that. But let's just isolate the actual sound, which I have right here. So this song, this synth is actually inspired by a song by Seamlessr called Back. You can search it up, called Seamlessr. The R is silent, actually. He does tutorials on YouTube too, and I really endorse this guy because I actually pretty much know everything I know because of him. But he created this bass in that song, which is like pretty much a bandpass filter, and the entire patch kind of consists inside of Harmor, which is interesting because I don't own Harmor. I haven't paid for it yet, but I have the producer edition of FL Studio, which I paid for, but this is the demo version, so I cannot really not save anything. So yeah, that's too bad. So I'll buy it at some point because I'm not really into the whole piracy thing anymore. Yeah, so this bass. This is a Serum patch. And let's first turn off all of the... I had a Maximus on this. I don't know if I still... So yeah, I tried making an FM8 patch, but that didn't work, so I just used the same buzz. So this is the... Is this the... But I turned off everything. Why do I still hear reverb? Oh, I actually have reverb on this. I have double reverb, which is really stupid, actually. No, this is not the right synth, is it? No, it's not. Why am I doing this then? Oopsie, my bad. Okay, let me just make sure I'm working on the right thing here. Alright. This is the right patch. Once again, I actually create all of my basses from like unison saw waves, which is actually... I wouldn't say it's stupid, but it's just... It's super simple. So I actually have this oscillator turned off. So the oscillator B actually only has a unison with a detune of about like 1130. It only has three. It's like three waves that are detuned. Yeah. And actually, you can set the amount of detune. I didn't know this, but you can set the mode for detune here: linear, super, exponential, I guess, inverted, and random. I didn't know you could do that, which is, I don't really know this global part yet very well. So what I did was I distorted the crap out of it with a tube filter. And by the way, heads up, another thing I learned is you can actually draw your own. Oops. You can actually draw your own wave shapes with a wave shaper editor, which is so dope. FL has one of these, if you don't know it, which is pretty dope. But I use a tube filter, tube distortion, and I have the drive turned up all the way and the mix all the way as well. I think. Yeah, whatever. And I put a little EQ, took out some of the mids, and like accentuated some of the highs. Very standard stuff for like with a lot of Noisia basses. This is like standard. If you like literally look at an EQ when you analyze their basses, you'll see they take out some of the mids, which I have no idea why, but it makes it sound super dope. And then I decided to go nuts. And actually, if you buy Serum, which I did not do for a very long time, is you can get extra effects, which is dope. You can actually have like an effect plugin with only the Serum effects, which is dope. So I double effected it. I did the same tube filter, tube distortion again, with just less punch this time. And I added a little bit of flange, which gives it that good drum and bass feel, like. And you can tell because of the phasing, it actually it causes some movement. You can actually hear some movement there. And the higher your notes go, the quicker it like moves, which is pretty damn cool. Some more EQing, basically taking out some of the harshness in this high mid, and taking out pretty much all of the bass, because I have a separate bass, I think. Am I certain of this? No, I don't. No, this is definitely all of the bass. But very interesting stuff. So, did I have this Maximus turned on? I think I did. Okay, yeah. This is a multi-band compressor. Basically, took out some of the, compressed the bass, so it like, no matter how much of a note you're pressing, there's always some degree of bass. And if you look at the mids, like a slight bit of compression, or like not compression. That's like anti-compression actually, because I'm like the louder the sound is, the less loud it is. I don't know how to explain it. Like this is like amplitude. No, this is amplitude. Sorry, this is amplitude. This is the out, and this is basically, yeah, I'm basically compressing it a little bit. Okay, so I took out some of the mids and a lot of the highs, because I actually have this sound that's filling up most of the high mids. And then I have the bass, obviously, and that's why I take out some of the higher frequencies and accentuate the high mids. But the treble, most of the treble is taken in by that little like Reezy weird like super saw thing. So yeah, so I turn on this, yeah, which basically just emphasizes that high mid, and then I have some reverb on it. More reverb, because most of that other reverb is getting distorted, which I have no idea why I left that reverb on. I don't know if it makes it sound cool though. So yeah, actually I think I screw with the amount of, no I don't, I usually screw with the amount of reverb, but no, I just have lots of reverb on it, which makes it fill the space very nicely. Some decay. I think I turned down the dampening a little bit, and the wet is turned up quite a bit, so it just sounds a little bit more far away, and the size is also turned up, which is interesting, very interesting actually. And then I have a limiter, and because I couldn't get the sidechain perfectly right, I actually manually like sidechained it. So with each kick and snare, I literally went and put it down and just copied that over all of the patterns. So you can tell it just cuts out where each beat hits. If I turn it off, kind of kills a bit of the kick and snare. So what's the basic motivation when I create this? Is like, what's my basic mindset? Create a ton of bass and distort the crap out of it, and then just tame it with some EQing. That's why I have 2 whole EQs on this. But it's basically creating that whole wow sound is this big guy right here. And what's happening here is I'm actually modulating this parameter on this EQ. Hence the name Bandpass bass. So it sounds very Noisia-ish, and that's why I liked it. So it's very simple actually. That's creating the main bass, and I probably shouldn't have left it for 9 minutes into the video. So yeah, I hope it helped. So yeah, create a lot of bass and then put a bandpass filter or whatever filter on it, and then tame the beast. Basically, that's my motivation when I'm creating this. Another thing, interesting thing to note is I always try to make the second drop in a song harder than the first one. So that's why when you look at the Serum the Serum patch, you'll see now that the first oscillator is actually turned on. But earlier in the song, actually, it was not turned on. That's why I have this little itty bitty automation clip which turns on the oscillator when it gets here, so that the drop is harder the second time, because the first time that sounds awfully weird. Okay, that's fine. My ears are just... Yeah, that's because it only has that one oscillator with the 3 detuned saw waves. So yeah. And then when the second drop comes around, you'll see this one turn on. Which just fills a lot more harmonics in there, which is all thanks to the distortion, because the distortion creates more harmonics for some reason. I have absolutely no idea why distortion does that. Just screwing with waves makes cool stuff. So then when the second drop hits, it adds an additional 10 waves, detuned waves, by the way. So like let me demonstrate this whole the fact that these things add more harmonics. Like, let's add an actual EQ here, and then I'll demonstrate. Because it helps with mixing if you have more harmonics, and by harmonics, if you don't know what harmonics are, let me try and explain it really simple, and that should probably be another video about what harmonics are. If you want to know, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best. See how each of those lines are harmonics. Each of those individual lines are sine waves, if I understand the theory correctly, and they together create this saw wave. So, or is that like analog theory stuff? I don't know. But anyway, you have these higher, and you can already tell it kind of creates that same bass. And so what distortion does is it actually messes with these. Actually, like as you can see, there's not a lot of bass right now in the lower frequencies. And what distortion does is super interesting, because when you just throw tons of harmonics in there, and this is just a single wave. So if I take this single wave and I distort it, you can see the harmonics become more saturated. Like the intensity changes. So if I add some more saw waves without distortion, you'll see the amount of harmonics actually kind of increases, and that's because of the super saw. And if you take a super saw and you distort it, and you play a lower note, and my keyboard is not very huge, so I'm just gonna have to. And suddenly you have bass. So you have lower frequencies, and then you can just accentuate it or whatever. And congrats, you have a Noisia bass. And you can add some phasing to that. It'll make things interesting. Actually, the actual phaser doesn't work that well. I think the flanger, it's basically the same effect, but flanger works a little bit differently. I just prefer it. And then basically what I did was I did this. And then I created this bass. This is from my song Beware My Wrath. Or My Wrath, actually, so yeah. I hope that cleared some stuff up for you. That's like the super most basic theory behind the basses that Noisia creates. And if you learned something, please leave a like. If you didn't, leave a like anyway. That helps promote my channel. And yeah, give this video a like, because I always like tutorials, and then I can go back and watch them in my liked playlist. So I'm just gonna fix this because OCD. So yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.